So a couple of days ago, Geronimo Yanez was acquitted of second-degree manslaughter and endangering the public in St. Anthony, Minnesota. And a lot of people are really upset about that. You see a lot of backlash from liberals and the black community. And I thought this was really interesting. I don't really have any opinion on whether or not Anthony Yanez should be guilty or innocent in this video. But after thinking about this case for some time, I noticed something. I've been thinking and wondering and realizing that, you know, the black people and the liberals, they're doing the same thing that they always do when something goes wrong, which is they never take any responsibility for their own poor decisions, and it's always just blaming somebody else whenever something goes wrong. And would the liberals have stood up if the same thing happened to a white man that was shot in the same circumstance by a black police officer? I highly, highly doubt that. So I think if liberals and the black community really, really, really actually cared about black people, they would have a little bit of self-criticism, and they would use examples of poor behavior within their own communities to teach others in their communities what not to do if they want to make it in life, or if they want to stay alive or avoid trouble at least. So what's clear to me is that this is a tragic situation. I feel sympathy for Geronimo Yanez, and I feel sympathy for Philando Castile. It's a tragedy that any of this happened in the first place. But here's one thing, or a couple of things, that Philando Castile could have done to save his life, or to have avoided this whole situation. And that is having common sense. If you have a gun, if you have a firearm on your body, and you get pulled over by a police officer, it doesn't matter where you are, what race you are, what race the police officer is, you got to follow a protocol, okay? It took, I watched the video of the dash cam video of Geronimo Yanez firing rounds into the vehicle of Philando Castile. If I were Philando Castile, I would have done one really important thing. After telling the officer that I had a firearm, I would have already had my hands on the 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. You keep your damn hands on the wheel as you're explaining to the officer that you have a firearm on your right hip or left hip or wherever it is. You tell the officer, I'm carrying a firearm, please tell me what to do next. And you wait for instructions so that you can have a peaceful, positive outcome, right? It doesn't sound like Philando Castile had his hands on the steering wheel at all. Big mistake. You can't tell an officer that you have a gun and then move your hands around. Maybe he was grabbing for the gun, maybe not. Maybe he was grabbing for a wallet to show his ID. Either way, he messed up. You gotta follow the protocol. 10 and 2. And tell the officer you've got a weapon and ask for further instructions. And I think one of the things that, another thing that I think causes problem is poor communication skills. It seems that when you have different groups of people interacting with each other, they have certain different ways of communication and understanding each other. They have different forms of talk, right? And that can be dialect, it can be slang, it can be completely different languages, it can be different body language, it can be different cultures and general customs, right? So the left likes to keep saying that diversity is a strength. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is a strength. They'll say that to you all day and all night until it's beaten into your head, and until you're basically, you know, indoctrinated with this belief, until you can't hear it anymore, until it drives you mad, until you start acting like a zombie, like some of these liberals actually start doing. But anyways, diversity is not a strength. Diversity causes a lot of hardship, and I think diversity makes it difficult for people of different backgrounds to understand each other. How can that be easy for people to understand each other when they come from different places and different situations in life? So it seems to me, in my experience in my life, a lot of black people have a very hard time communicating on a professional level. and on an intellectual level. And a lot of black people that I've dealt with and have seen in the media and in real life and in stories like this lack a lot of common sense. And if they just had a little bit more common sense, it would go a long way for them. And if the liberals and the black community wanted to help black people, they would stop pointing fingers at other people for their problems, and they would look inward and say, what can we do to ourselves to protect ourselves and to move up in society and get what we deserved in a way that's earned and respectful. We got to start telling kids and start telling people that they're messing up and that they're doing things incorrectly, and that sometimes they are to blame for the situations they get themselves into.